Runescape, a massive multiplayer online role-playing game many of us grew up playing in grade school. A game where nostalgia is invoked just by hearing the startup music on the login screen. The year is 2005, and Runescape is the topic of conversation at lunch tables where friends would brag about the gold they earned and the levels they achieved. At sleepovers, Runescape was the game of choice, even though you'd have to take turns on your friend's family computer. A time where the internet may have been more simple, but Runescape distinguished itself as a vast land of wonder and adventure. With such few guides and resources, the game was relatively undiscovered, and players experienced the game through their own lens. While AIM Instant Messenger may have been the main method of online communication, Runescape offered an online community far ahead of its time. Players made lifelong friends through sharing training methods, bartering with one another, and teaming to slay monsters. Runescape has granted us with some of our happiest childhood memories, and will always hold a spot in our hearts. Well, the year is 2020, and many of us have grown up. But what if I told you you could experience RuneScape through the eyes of your childhood self once more? First, let's take a look at where the game is at in 2020. After voicing discontent with the direction of RS3 and specifically the Evolution of Combat update, Jagex polled the player base on rebooting old school servers. With over 50k votes in favor, Jagex released old school RuneScape in February of 2013. Looking at the previous year of data, RuneScape averaged a concurrent player base of 77,000 in 2019, with Jagex reporting an all-time high in membership for the franchise. The game features the 23 skills that existed in 2007, but has considered and pulled the addition of new skills such as sailing and warding. The land of Gielinor traditionally hosted all of RuneScape's adventures, until Jagex expanded the map, adding the continent of Zeah in 2016. Adventurers can currently tackle 144 quests and progress through 12 achievement diaries of various regions throughout RuneScape. Since the reboot, Jagex has added loads of new content, brand new game modes, and has even ventured into the world of esports, hosting various competitions. In my opinion, the game is in a great and healthy state today. In the standard game mode, players get the traditional MMORPG and RuneScape experience. With over 200 worlds and hundreds of players per world, player interaction is a key component of the game and MMOs in general. Players are encouraged to join together to defeat bosses or even fight one another in the wilderness. And afterwards, players can trade their spoils with one another for gold pieces, fueling the booming RuneScape economy. With no restrictions to the standard game mode, players can access and cycle between content with ease. So what is wrong with the standard RuneScape experience that players look to take the game on solo? To me, the core issues lay more in human psychology than the standard version of the game itself. With college, jobs, and less time than our 5th grade selves, many players look to be efficient with the time that they do have. And while efficiency makes sense, it can limit the game to a slim set of methods, actions, and strategies. To Jagex's credit, they have increasingly combated this by offering new content that fill niches in the game, while buffing older content that has been labeled dead. With that said, many players often gravitate towards optimization and efficiency, leaving suboptimal content behind. I was guilty of this on my standard main account, exclusively using the same set of optimal methods to progress my account. Personally, I have found it difficult to enjoy much of the wide range of content in this game without feeling the weight of opportunity cost that comes with optimization. Opportunity cost is defined as the loss of potential gain from other alternatives when one alternative is chosen. For the sake of simplicity, let's say I have two different options, A and B. Essentially, if I choose option B and reap those rewards, I am losing out on the benefits of option A. Since time is finite, if I choose to fish for an hour, I cannot mine ore in that same hour. Next, let's take a look into the different types of Ironman accounts. With the standard Ironman, players cannot trade one another, use the Grand Exchange, or pick up item drops from other players. Hardcore Ironmen will lose their hardcore status upon death, making every combat scenario extremely intense. Ultimate Ironmen are unique in that they cannot use the bank, forcing them to strategize around their 28 inventory slots. The upcoming Group Ironman mode will feature standard Ironman mode restrictions, but allow small teams to trade and share within their group. Let's first break down the economy of standard accounts. Oversimplifying this experience looks something like this. Player farms bosses for drops and resources. Player takes whatever items earned and sells them to the GE for coins. Player spends GP upgrading gear and buying skills. Repeat this cycle until you have more gear and higher levels, meaning you can unlock many of the game's weapons, armor, gear, and buyable skills by repeating the same high profit method rather than experiencing the actual content that grants the item. Let's look at why this cycle is so prevalent and revisit the idea of opportunity cost. By comparing two pieces of mid-game content, killing Zulrah and chopping magic trees, we can illustrate this concept. Chopping magic trees grants about 100k GP per hour and 25k XP per hour in woodcutting. While slaying Zulrah, you get no woodcutting experience, but can earn between 2 mil and 3.8 mil per hour. So magic trees is the best option for leveling woodcutting while profiting, correct? Well, not exactly. Despite both methods being mid-game content, it is actually never efficient to chop magic logs. Enter option 3, teak logs, the optimal woodcutting method, conservatively granting 75k woodcutting XP per hour, with 0 profit. Now you may say, well PD, I want woodcutting experience while making profit, that's why chopping magic logs is good. Let's dive into why magic logs are actually not the best use of your time in either aspect. Let's say I have 2 hours to play Runescape and my goal is to gain woodcutting experience and gold in that 2 hours. With option 1, I chop magic logs for 2 hours yielding 50k woodcutting experience and 200k profit. With option 2, I kill Zulrah for 1 hour, yielding at least 2 million in gold, and for the second hour I chop teaks for 75k woodcutting experience, totaling 2 million GP and 75k woodcutting experience. You get the sense of how even in a non-buyable skill, the fastest XP per hour is more important than any profit gained from said skill, as the time you are getting back is most valuable earning gold at high profit methods such as Zulrah. On screen is an assortment of items from resources to Chamber of Xeric rewards. In the standard game mode, all of these drops would be harvested to gold, fueling your next purchases. In contrast, the resource-driven economy of Ironman mode gives each of these items revitalized and unique purpose. Herbs not only provide herblore XP, but an array of both combat and non-combat potions. A fishing potion could help you boost for an achievement diary, while prayer potions allow you to attempt the fight caves. Woodcutting logs first grants woodcutting experience. From here we can take a couple of different paths. They can be burned for fire making XP, or they can be used for fletching. Longbows can be alked for profit, while arrow shafts can be used to create arrows, later providing range XP and ammunition for PvM. Hunting clue scrolls feels like a legitimate treasure hunt, with a large drop table that can help your account in so many different ways. Clues are split into various difficulties with the rewards corresponding in value. There are many weapon and armor upgrades that are exciting surprises every time a casket is opened. Recently, a rune crossbow from an elite clue scroll opened up so much of this game's PvM content for my account. On the flip side, cosmetic items make for awesome collectibles, allowing you to show off the loot you've treasure hunted for yourself. Clue scroll items are also needed to complete harder clue scrolls, making them increasingly important as you can't just buy them on the GE.
With the Bears minigame, you're getting combat XP while PvMing. Rewards include runes for magic XP, as well as elite clue scrolls. Whether it's obtaining tier 70 tank gear or upgrading ranged DPS with the Carol's crossbow, each Barrows piece has its own use. Items that may not traditionally be used in the standard game mode could actually be an upgrade for your Ironman account. Not only are the individual items beneficial, but when an entire Barrow set is completed, you get the additional value of its set effect. Completing a set of Varrox will allow an Ironman to better kill Callisto, for example.
Balanced account progression is encouraged due to the restrictions on the Ironman game mode. For example, you may have very high combat stats, and while you're able to earn rare items through PvM, if your other stats are far behind your combat stats, you often can't use that item. Conversely, a player can utilize this rare item with a combination of interacting skills. In the standard game, an Amulet of Fury is locked behind the GE price of 2 million gold. In Ironman mode, there are quite a few requirements to access the amulet. First, you need the combat stats to get an Onyx as a PvM drop. You then need 90 crafting to physically create the amulet. Finally, you need 87 magic to enchant the amulet and receive the associated stat bonuses. PvM is nerfed a bit in this sense, as your other skills need to be on par to reap the rewards. As you may imagine, doing only optimal content can shrink the game to a slim set of locations. Ironman mode not only revitalizes content, but also expands the entire world of RuneScape. Let's take a look at some of the Achievement Diary daily rewards to help us illustrate this concept. From Port Phasmatis to Lovakenge, the collection process spans over both continents of RuneScape, with many stops along the way. These rewards aren't particularly useful to main accounts as they can be bought at the GE, but to Ironman, they are valuable resources that can be used to train an array of skills, be used in PvM, or increase a player's cash stack. For example, battle staffs can be bought from Zaf at a reduced price, then by adding orbs to them, players can alch them for a profit. Players can collect daily buckets of sand from Bert and Yenile to help in the creation of molten glass, which grants crafting XP. Next, let's take a look at some of the other factors that encourage Ironmen to frequently move around the map and interact with NPCs. First, we have the previously mentioned Achievement Diary dailies plotted as green circles. Herb and tree farming locations are represented as blue squares. Herb runs help provide Ironmen with valuable herblore XP, which is often difficult to obtain without the Grand Exchange. Tree and fruit tree runs help Ironmen quickly level up their farming to access higher level herbs and farming content. Birdhouse runs are represented as red diamonds and are located on the northeast portion of the map at Fossil Island. Birdhouse runs grant Ironmen the tree seeds needed to quickly level up farming while providing passive hunter XP. Tears of Guthix, represented by the blue tier, is a minigame that can be done weekly, granting the player's lowest skill with bonus experience. This can be used strategically by keeping hard to train or expensive skills lowest so that they receive this bonus XP. Yellow Star represents the Kingdom of Miscellanea, which allows Ironmen to invest gold and receive resources of their choice, including herbs, logs, fish, seeds, flax, and ore. Additionally, this is seen as one of the best methods for Ironmen to obtain herbs to train the skill. Now with the purple dollar sign, I've identified a small sample of useful shops for Ironmen. NPC shops can be extremely useful on a day-to-day basis and even help you get to know the characters of RuneScape. Orden at the Blast Furnace sells ore at a good price, which can be used for smithing XP. Udo at Gnome Tree Groceries sells all sorts of cooking components needed for quests. At charter ships all across RuneScape, crew members sell buckets of sand and soda ash, which can be used for crafting XP. The Tazar will buy runes in exchange for tackle, the Magic Guild sells most types of runes, and clothing stores provide gear for clue requirements. I could keep going, but this map would just turn purple. Something I learned recently in this game mode is that players can grow kittens to cats and sell them to citizens in West Ardougne for death runes. This is signified by the orange pentagon. You can imagine how much more travel is added when you consider PvM, skilling methods, minigames, and other activities. The world of RuneScape feels revitalized physically, and NPC interaction furthers this immersion. In Ironman mode, a revitalized sense of adventure comes with questing. Questing does have some barriers to entry, and a player must first figure out how to get the required stats for a quest. Early on, this can be a great motivator to level up various skills. Figuring out how to get the tools and resources necessary to obtain these skills in Ironman mode is a refreshing take on the game. One of the best ways to obtain skill requirements is actually through quests themselves, as early content and grinds can be surpassed with quest rewards. For example, the Knight Sword grants almost 13k experience, the equivalent of 1 through 29 smithing right off the bat. You now have the stats to do Elemental Workshop for even more XP, and can skip the slow early game of bronze and iron smithing. In contrast, if you waited until level 50 smithing to do the quest, the XP would have far less impact as you would only gain 1 level. The second big hurdle to questing is obtaining the required items, which can often be an adventure in itself. With the GE being so useful, prior to this game mode I really had no idea where a large amount of RuneScape's items came from. As an Ironman, you quickly have to learn how to obtain these items through spawns, monster drops, and shops. For example, a steel spear is a 3 out of 128 drop from Earth Warriors, which is necessary for the Taibowana Trio quest. Aggie the Witch assists in the combination of ingredients to make different colored dyes. I've also increased my skills as a bartender, learning how to make my own fruit blasts and blurberry specials. Now quests can get a bit trickier having to obtain these items organically. The easiest example is with the quest Imp Catcher. On a standard account, the quest takes 1 minute as players go to the GE to buy all the colored beads necessary to complete the quest. As an Ironman, you have to kill loads of imps to get each bead as a drop, which is an early game roller coaster of excitement. On a more extreme note, let's look at the quest Morning's End Part 2. Thorgal will give you a death talisman needed to complete the quest after bringing him a long list of supplies. Standard accounts can simply buy a death talisman from the GE to bypass this step. While these challenges may seem annoying in the moment, it makes the completion of these quests all the more rewarding. By the time I have all the requirements and items, doing the quest feels like a privilege rather than a chore. And that childhood feeling of adventure is renewed as you scrounge together the best resources and gear you can find to fight the quest bosses of RuneScape. Taking on Elvarg like an absolute champion with mismatched armor and salmon is quite the throwback. With more challenging adventures comes greater spoils. Exclusive weapons and armor of various tiers are obtained as quest rewards, some of which are crucial, such as Barrow's gloves. Similar to achievement diaries, quest XP lamps can be put towards difficult skills to train. Transportation is critical for Ironman, and after questing, some of the best methods are unlocked, such as fairy rings, the ectophile, gnome gliders, and Draken's medallion. As you quest, you unlock the ability to complete more and more clue scroll steps, which will ultimately increase your loot. RuneScape's map expands with unlocked areas such as Lunar Isle and Prifddinas. These new locations also come with unlocked content such as Astral, Runecrafting, and the Gauntlet. While these rewards are applicable to standard accounts as well, their benefits are greatly amplified in Ironman game modes. A personal challenge I have with single-player games like Breath of the Wild or Skyrim is despite being amazing games, I get lonely in these vast worlds being the only human player. For better or for worse, you share the world of RuneScape with many other players. I may have restrictions to my Ironman, but there's something comforting and thrilling to the mass amount of players moving around me, having fun, reaching goals, and taking on new challenges. And while Ironmen stand alone, this is not the case when it comes to community or even all aspects of gameplay for that matter. There are tons of Ironman specific clans and clan chats where you can socialize, ask questions, and even plan events. That's right, despite Ironman restrictions, you can team up on various minigames, raids, skilling bosses, and more. Communities such as r/2007scape and r/ironscape on Reddit are also great places to share achievements, news, strategies, and more. However, be careful as the meme game can get quite extreme, some of which can actually be Ironman specific. YouTube has a robust Ironman community as well. There are loads of entertaining Ironman series, and it is interesting to see how each player progresses their account. Not only is it something interesting to watch in the background while you play, but I have learned about many methods, strategies, and RuneScape Easter eggs by watching these series. To shout out a few, I'd recommend watching Mr. Mammal, Wild Mudkip, Settled, Bodhi, and UIM for some great Ironman content. Some players have even created their own versions of the game mode where additional restrictions such as region locking are implemented. And it's insane the lengths these players go in order to level up different skills or obtain different items. Twitch is similar conceptually, but with the live aspect of course. And interacting with your favorite streamer or watching them get a lucky drop is always exciting in the moment. Regardless of your preferred platform, there's a community for everyone. While I've been singing the praises of this game mode for the past 15 minutes, it does come with its drawbacks and struggles. Grinds can be grinds. For example, people are constantly posting on the Ironscape subreddit thousands of kills and hours going dry for a Dragon Warhammer, which is necessary for a multitude of PvM bosses. In this sense, you can't skip the grinds or the grinds of things you don't like without stunting the growth of your account. You may have to train skills you hate training to get some seriously important benefits. As we looked at earlier, you may hate training crafting, but if you want to use that Onyx or Zenite, you'll have to put hours into the skill, rather than taking a quick trip to the Grand Exchange. We also reviewed earlier how there's less pressure to play optimally as an Ironman, but I'm not going to pretend like there aren't optimal methods or progression strategies. In fact, one of the first recommendations Ironmen often receive is to go grind 90+ firemaking at Wintertod right off the bat, as the supplies you receive are a great start to your account. In PvM, people can abuse your Ironman status. For example, you are extremely susceptible to getting crashed, as any damage done to a monster by another player will prevent you from getting loot. This applies to bosses such as bandos and a large amount of PvM content. For those who enjoy Ironman mode, myself included, these challenges actually increase the value of achievements and the enjoyment of the game as a whole. For others, these challenges and the Ironman game mode may not be their cup of tea, and that's okay. It really comes down to perspective and preference. But if you're a player who's been on the fence about starting an Ironman account, I highly recommend giving it a shot, even if you start in free-to-play. If you're a player who played way back in the day and is sad about losing the stats of their old account, this is a great new way to experience the game you once loved. Standard account or Ironman, I hope to see you all in this beautiful MMO. Hey, thanks for watching my video. If you'd like to support the channel, please consider subscribing or leaving a like on this video. I'd love to keep making more RuneScape content if the interest is there, and if you guys have any suggestions on future videos, please leave them in the comment section below. Bye!